But on the topic of, I want to return to those last two scenes, but on the topic of like romance and like Emily, I have this weird theory about Emily. So like Emily's childlike wonder and like her hyper romanticism reminds me a lot of Jasmine from Aladdin.
Okay.
So like all of the Disney films out there, Aladdin in many ways gets some of the greatest recognition for its use of like, well, for that at the time it was like its use of computer graphics, but also having one of the best stories.
Yeah.
But when it came to romances, Aladdin was actually one of the weakest and most vain ones, at least in my opinion. So Jasmine is like this overprivileged princess who longs to leave the castle simply because it's the one thing she can't do.
Right.
And she only falls in love with Aladdin because he's the embodiment of that, right? Like he embodies the escape of being outside of the castle. And literally any young street peasant would have caught her attention because it took nothing for her to fall for him.
Right.
Now, compare that to something like, I mean, and you know, you can say that and they could be like, oh, but it's a kid's movie, Satchel, whatever. Like, why are you reading too deep into it? But compare that to something like Hercules, where both romantic protagonists' historical baggage play into their inability to love each other.
Right.
Like there's tension at first, and like Hercules spent his whole life seeking approval and could only pursue the idea of a damsel, while Meg was burned from a previous relationship and had to conquer her cynicism. And like the audience saw them learn how to set themselves aside for each other. Yeah. I feel like Emily has spent years with Josh, right? And she's constantly asking him, what do you love about me, right? Right. Because it's obvious, right? If anyone's been in a relationship, if the girl asks you that, because she's not receiving the level of affirmation in the relationship that she believes she deserves, or like just at all. Yeah. And Josh is an idiot for not seeing the red flag there. Like when your girl is straight up asking you directly, what do you love about me? Your answer should be, oh my God, what have I done to hurt you? Like that's just like...
Yeah, like he should be able to pick up on those social cues of just, like I'm seeking attention. Yeah. Please give it to me. Yeah.
They've been dating for years. She's in her late 20s and she keeps bringing up the theme of being married with kids and a dog. Like she's so romantically depraved that she latches onto the passionate yet unfaithful and uncommitted will of Josh's brother, Rhett, from the moment they meet. Like, he just stands for something and loves something. Right. And that's enough for her to defend his decisions the whole film, whether it's about a video about backyard lizards or marrying a woman he just met. Wow. And she says, I deserve better than this, which essentially is like, I deserve better than the castle. Right. And you watch her idolize and defend this like ideal image of love by living vicariously through Rhett's like, you know, knee-jerk marriage, and when it all crumbles like before her hope and her fantasy, which was wrapped up in that, like crumbles with it. And then she's just like rips on him and he's like, dude, what did I do to you? You know, like it's so
and even he's trying to like figure out, he's like, look, this isn't about me. He's like, what happened with you two?
Yeah.
Wow, that's such a good analysis of it, man. Yeah, it really is. She's so like wide-eyed when the whole wedding thing is happening, and she does. I think you're right. She likes that idea of this false romanticism. You know, this beer goggles love affair that the two of them have.
Well, okay. What I'm curious, like, so you've been in a relationship for a long time. You're married, right? Yep. You're committed, right? Who do you think was in the wrong? Like, because someone is. Josh or Emily is wrong. Like, either Josh is a closet cynic, and romantically retarded, as Emily put it, or Emily is too naive and like a victim to like white picket fence fantasies. Like, how do you feel about their relationship dynamic and like who was right and wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I think I sided with Emily on that. It just felt, Josh as a character just felt he felt incomplete. You know, he felt like his whole life is incomplete. His brother was asking him about, you know, the band. He's like, oh, well, the thing with the band is that we're not doing it. So he has this passion that he's kind of just like abandoned, right? So he's doing, you know, this work for other bands. So he's not even doing like, you know, he's a creative person. You know that he you know, he came up with this creative idea for his father. Like, that's a creative gift that takes like some creativity to kind of put together. So
yeah,
I feel like he's kind of like abandoned this whole music thing, is settling for this other thing to kind of make money and make ends meet, which is understandable that these kind of things happen. But then, if you've been in with a relationship with someone for so long, I feel like you have to kind of like trust in them to see you at your worst. You know, he wrote that song and played it for her, and she's just like, why have you never played that for me? And he's like, well, it wasn't done and it wasn't good. I didn't want to show it to you before it wasn't good. For me, like, his defenses are still up. Like, he doesn't trust her or is committed to her enough to show fault in himself, to show, you know, he's not at his most, you know, he's not an alpha male at that point. He's just kind of like vulnerable, and he's scared to reveal himself to her.
Yeah.
And I feel like on her end, that's like, well, if you can't even play me like a shitty song that you think is shitty, but I think is great, like, how can I open up to you about anything if you can't even open up to me with something that like you're kind of proud of, and I want to be proud with you. You know,
right.
they can't even share that moment together.
Right.
It's just like ruined for her. It's like tainted. It's like, oh, this is such a great thing. Like, why have you been hiding this from me? What's this, like, this secret thing? I mean, there are plenty of times where I tell Rebecca some like half-baked idea. It's just like, you know, so stupid, but like, I'm not afraid of her rejection or her to, she would never be like, that's a stupid idea, you know, but like, you know, I'm
to your face.
Right, to my face. Satchel, can you believe what Nick told me? What a dumb idea. She's calling you to tell you.
I'd be like, how'd you get this number?
But yeah, it's like, I feel like you have to have that for Josh. That's like a certain amount of intimacy that he's just not sharing with her. And I feel like she had every right to feel betrayed or like, calling into question his commitment to her, you know?
Yeah. I can see that.
I mean, how did you feel about it?
I guess I'm a hypocrite. I didn't really have a definite side. For me, they were both kind of silly. For me, like, actually, I guess I do really err more on Emily's side. In my opinion, Emily made it so easy for Josh to repair their relationship.
Right.
And Josh took advantage of her niceness at so many different corners, even in the beginning of the film, where she's just like, I just want to spend this last night with you before you go on this road trip without me. Right. And then he's talking about, you know, like hooking some person up with some girl. Like,
being like a super douche guy, you know?
Yeah, you know? Like, I would just be like, you know what? Like, and I would just be like, you know what? Hey, man, like, thanks for calling. I'll call you back, like, later.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I literally have all this time to talk to you because I'm going on this super long road trip by myself. Yeah. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's selfish and...
Yeah. There's like, there's a lot of
she's
selfishness.
Such a cool... She came off as such a cool chick. You know what I mean? Like she's pretty much like down for whatever, it seemed like. Well, she, you know, he showed up and was just like, hey, I want you to come on this road. And she's just like, okay, I'll drop all my stuff and go with you. And like, oh... You know, she was like, oh, we're just gonna like swing by your brother's, and you know, he's just like, well, yeah, we're just gonna stop by because I want to get on the road. And then that plan changes, and she's just like, it's not the best idea. There's that scene where she's like, I guess like half sleeping, and he's like, oh, are you mad? And she's like, I'm just, what did she say?
She said, I'm just disappointed.
Disappointed with the situation. But then, you know, was chipper, you know, didn't let that bother her you know, she was just kind of along for the ride. And maybe that's like a metaphor for her entire relationship with him. She's just kind of along for the ride and like,
wow, yeah,
tired of being in the passenger seat, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true when you think about when he asked like, why do you want to marry me? Mm-hmm. I think it was there that I was like, yeah, girl, why do you want to marry him? Do you just want the idea of marriage, or do you like this person? Like, yeah, you gotta, I feel like, but it's complicated, right? I mean, she said, I'm 26, like the whole, like, you know, my 20s are slipping away, like, yeah, am I just gonna stick around? Like, I'd like to pull the trigger. I've invested in this, you know, like, yeah, I don't know.
You know, like, dating in your 20s is kind of a weird thing, because at some point it changes from just going out and having a good time to, you know, you're finally an adult with some responsibility and trying to figure stuff out. And, you know, you are the person that you're going to be for the rest of your life. And at some point, if you're just dating someone that you're just like, oh, you know, we've been having fun, and it's like, well, is this person going to be right for the next phase of my life? And I guess that's a question you have to ask when you're dating someone. And maybe, you know, some people take that transition well. Maybe some people just don't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely see that. I definitely see both sides of the fence on that.
Well, you know what, too? Like, I feel like Josh, throughout the whole thing, I read this, like, jealousy of his brother, like jealousy and like resentment at his brother's like carefreeness, you know. He would just kind of, he's like, oh well, I felt like he was just kind of like, well, he's my brother, and you know, I love him, I'm gonna do whatever, but he acts the way he want to act, and you know, there's nothing you can do for it, and it kind of frustrates him when Rhett disappears. But at the same time, I feel like the part where he sings that song is, he's like, well, my brother just did this romantic thing. Well, I'm going to show that I can be romantic too.
Huh. I never thought of that. Yeah.
Like, maybe not to one up him, but just to I don't know. And one other thing, you know, Jay is the one who gives his brother the vows. And I almost felt like his vows were kind of cynical.
Really just... Right. Yeah.
They're just like, you know, I promise to love you when I get tired. It was something like that. It was something like whoa. That felt like a very backhanded kind of way to say that.
Right. And then it also felt like some of his vows were like for Emily, like in a rude way, where he was just like, I promise that I'll support you and I'll let you be who you want to be, and I won't, like, you know what I mean? It was very
yes, you're right.
Very like self-serving in a kind of way. And I was like, all right,
interesting.
But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I just felt like that from his view of his brother. It just felt very like he was kind of just like looking from afar, like judging, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It's very weird.
So nuanced.
Yeah. I really did like this movie, though. I thought it was very interesting, and I was like, after the first couple minutes, I was just like hooked. You know, I was kind of shaky. I was like, what is happening? Where am I? Yeah. What is this going to be like? What kind of adventure are we going to be on? And then definitely, I was just like hook, line, and sinker. It was a great study of relationships. You know, relationships that I could relate to, which was really nice, you know, and even like, you know, with the brother and, you know, his significant other. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I just found it like fascinating. It just felt like, it felt very voyeuristic. It felt like I was just creeping on these people's lives, trying to understand it. And by the end, just being like, I just will not understand these people, I guess. But I want to try to. I want to keep watching to try to, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I'm in the same boat. Like, all in all, it was a film that definitely felt like I was looking through a keyhole at these people's lives, and you know, the way it was shot and the way it was performed was in a very relatable way, in a very accessible way, and that was something that was super personable for myself. And even though, like, I don't think that my thoughts lend to that same kind of subject matter, like with regards to like writing and creating things, the level of honesty is really admirable, and authenticity is really admirable. And I think that that's something that, you know, I'd like to strive for, and I think it's an important, and it seems like a really cool thing for a lot of people to strive for in their work. So yeah, really tight film. Do you want to talk about the next film that we'll be covering so that people can get all well read and get to go?
Yeah, you know, we kind of went back and forth. We were talking about doing Four-Eyed Monsters as like a next kind of companion piece. Maybe I was kind of thinking, I was like, all right, let's take it out of the indie. Let's take it out of older movies. I was like, let's get back to something that people have seen. And we were talking about doing There Will Be Blood as the next film. It's by Paul Thomas Anderson, and I believe available on Netflix, so if you want to watch it on there. But I think that'd be an interesting movie to cover, simply because it's been so long since I've seen it, and I remember loving it. I remember having a lot of great questions and discussions after seeing it. So I think it'd be good for us. It's a quiet movie, very introspective, which would be kind of interesting compared to this movie.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be a cool trip for us to take.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to really giving it a second watch and paying attention to all the undertones in it, especially the undertones of vengeance, which I'm super into.
Yeah.
Thanks to, oh my gosh, you know what? Like, this was that one film that I was like, this film gives me the sweet vengeance that like all the Chan-wook Park films do. Like that.
Yeah.
That whole trilogy. Like,
yep.
This is precisely what I want. All right, cool. Let's move on to the iTunes reviews. So,
yes.
If you guys have been enjoying what you're hearing right now, or if you've been listening for a while, it would mean the world to us if you could go on iTunes and just let us know how you feel through the rating system. If you could rate us, give us how many stars you feel we deserve, and just sort of like give us your 2 cents on what you may like about the show, what you may hate about the show. You hate our faces, you hate our voices, we have vocal fry, and we uptalk too much. I just want to read 2 5-star reviews, 2 of the most recent 5-star reviews. We've got one from Colin Murray. From the first 5 minutes, they got me hooked, line and subscribed. 2 men intelligently discuss the subtler points of movies and have a great time doing it. Thanks for making the show, Nick and Satchel. And another one from Josh Palagi.
Oh, yeah?
I've been looking for a podcast that really sinks its critical teeth into movies, and I'm happy to say that this has fulfilled that role perfectly. Nick and Satchel are obviously scholars on all things cinema, with varied and detailed ideas to bring to the table. But their genuine passion for movies makes the podcast as palatable as it is thought-provoking. Sure, they played to my heart by kicking things off with some Spike Jonze, but I would have to stick around regardless. Great work, you guys. I look forward to a lot more of these. Cool. Well, we'll continue making more of these because it's hella fun just kind of shooting from the hip and talking about films with people like you, Nick.
Likewise, man. I am super... so I guess this will be number 8 or 7.
Dude, we're breaking ground, man. We're about to get the 2 digits.
Double digit. I have this tendency to kind of reevaluate as things kind of progress and stuff. And like, I'm super happy that we're doing this, and I'm like loving every minute of it. Definitely. You know, it's super big admirer of you and your work, which is awesome. And like, you know, dude, we're friends on top of that, which is great. So like, but it's cool to really share movie stuff. I was explaining the podcast to my brother the other day. My brother and I were hanging out, and we were having like a really good talk and stuff. And I kind of like laid it on him. He's like, oh, well, you know, that movie podcast. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I really love it. I was like, it's such a, I was like, it feels very self-serving. I was like, and I mean that in the best way possible. I was like, I just love doing it. And I love talking about movies like that. I feel like when I was younger and when I was in school and stuff, we would talk about movies like this all the time. And now when I talk about movies with people, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's good. You should see it. Or,
right.
I enjoyed
this. It did okay on Rotten Tomatoes because...
Yeah, right?
Because my life decisions are fueled by other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Oh, and I didn't mean to take a jab. But
exactly. No, but seriously, but like I am having like such a good time doing this, and this is like, it's super great for me. It feels like, I feel like exactly when I felt when I was in film school, where I was just extremely passionate about movies and just excited about movies again. I feel like it's very easy to get cynical if you get kind of wrapped up in the movie stuff and like
sure
the reporting of movies. It's very like, oh well, I heard this. It's like, well, let's just experience it, and I feel like this is such a return for. So Satchell, I want to thank you so much for doing this with me. It's made my life complete. I love it,
dude. Likewise, I want to thank you. I mean, like, your positivity and outlook on it has been really cool. And I mean, just on top of that, like, I knew it was going to work out the moment, like, we first started chilling and kind of talking, playing video games and stuff, like, just about, like, life and movies. I was like, this is going to be pretty interesting because, like, you've been kind of, like, involved in, like, filmmaking and watching movies and, like, discussing them in depth for, like, a while, and you still have, like, this, like, wonder and interest that's very, like, respectable and encouraging for me. And that's always something that I'm striving to have in the things that I'm, like, knee deep in, that I'm working with all the time, like in other genres and stuff. And it was, I don't know, for me, like, it's always refreshing getting to jump into this as someone who's definitely new to, like, looking at things in this medium in this way, and hearing, like, seasoned feedback and having, like, really good conversations with you and hearing where you're coming from and not tumbling down any rabbit holes of, like, disenchantment and stuff, because we don't need that noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's always something interesting to be found. That's what sold me on it. When we kind of like agreed that there's always something interesting to be found, even in, like, a student film. There's always, like, it's just a hint of, like, an eternal spark at something.
Yeah, there's always a positive to take from it.
Yeah, and that's something that I definitely, that's something that I enjoy in, like, games and the visual arts and film. And
dude, it's interesting that you think of yourself as, like, a not like a novice, but you're like, oh, I'm just not well. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, you're incredibly well versed in like so many aspects of, like, the visual medium that, like, I'm amazed that you think that you're like, oh, I'm just new to this. It's like, are you kidding, dude? You've been watching movies for, like, ever, man. Everybody's a cinephile at heart, man. They just don't know it yet.
That should be the slogan.
Everyone's a
cinephile at heart. They just don't know it yet.
Dude, oh my God.
Tune in next week.
Dude, t-shirt time.
I know.
Oh, man. But no, yeah, definitely people should tune in next week, because we're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about our love of movies. And it sounds like every podcast we're going to talk about our love of each other. Yes. No,
and some life sprinkled in there. Yeah,
I kind of tell you, that's, like, my favorite part of the podcast too, is that like it's very like, oh, we're going to analyze the movie and here's some personal stuff, and then somehow it kind of turns into this, like, psychiatrist couch session, which is nice.
Right.
Like, here's what's going on in my neck of the woods.
Definitely. I like that. I like podcasts that do that.
Yeah, man. It's real. So I would suggest that everybody find a friend who likes movies and go to the movies and watch it and talk about it. And if your friends are busy, come talk to us, because we would love to talk about movies with you. You can find us on Twitter. I'm Hayden Murphy,
Telecast.
and the CA Telecast is our thing.
And then subscribe on iTunes, because iTunes is cool. And then we're also on YouTube if you want to see the vodcast, and that's youtube.com/CA Telecast. And the Reddit is also important. We're in there.
Yeah.
We are doing stuff. We're active on it. We talk movies with people, and we also kind of, listen to people's suggestions or questions they may have about upcoming films and stuff. So if there is anything, any like particular topics that you'd like us to cover for There Will Be Blood, if you've seen it already, or if you got to watch it later, feel free to drop a line on the subreddit and we will check it out and we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm. We want to hear from you. We love it.
For sure. So thank you guys so much for listening. Do we have an outro thing?
Yeah, no. Yeah. It's pre-recorded.
Yeah. Oh, that. Okay. I can't remember if you say something about
you know what I
the
do.
interstellar mind.
That's right.
Speaking of which, Interstellar. Okay. I'm so... Okay, I haven't watched it, but...
Ever? Not yet?
I know. Wait, have you seen it?
Yeah, dude. I saw
is it legit? Because I totally saw a commercial that they're like, the limited edition Blu-ray's coming out with an IMAX film cell. And I was like, IMAX film cell? I want to collect that.
Wait, where is that at?
I got you. I got you.
And we'll include an authentic... Oh, what?
I know. I'm buying it.
Oh, dude, and it comes with like a book and stuff. Where do you buy it?
I haven't even seen it.
Okay, dude. So I saw it in IMAX in 70 millimeter. It was phenomenal.
Okay.
But it was right when I got my eye surgery, so I want to like re-experience it. So,
okay.
You and I are gonna set a date for Interstellar 3-disc combo pack Blu-ray. Okay.
Oh, dude.
Okay. So we're gonna set a date. It comes out. Let me see. I know, this is riveting audio right now. It comes out March 31st, which is next Tuesday. So you're going to come over and we're going to watch it together.
That's happening.
All right?
Yes.
And then we'll do... I just said we're going to do There Will Be Blood, but I feel like we should do Interstellar if we're both going to watch it. Okay, we'll do There Will Be Blood, and then we'll do Interstellar after that.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so yeah, you and I will set a date to come over and watch it, and we'll do that.
Tight.
All right,
we'll watch it, record stuff.
Yep.
Fly drones.
Yes, that's happening. I was talking to Paul about it. That's definitely happening.
Sweet dude. Cool. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening, and tune in next time for more talks about movies.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Peace out.
Bye. The Cinephilia Anonymous Telecast is produced by Satchell Drakes and Nick Murphy. Music by Mark Junker. You can hear more of his music at junker.ca. That's JUNKER.ca. You can follow the Telecast on Twitter at CA Telecast, subscribe on YouTube at CA Telecast, subscribe on iTunes, and check out our website, catelecast.com.